Today on With the First Pick, we're looking at 5 college quarterbacks from last weekend's action, and we'll give them the old pop or drop treatment. We'll also highlight some of our favorite non-QBs, including 2 big play receivers and 3 edge rushers you need to know about. We'll also update our QB big board through 4 weeks of the college football season. Basically, Rick, if the draft for today, who do we like the most? And then have a little mock draft surprise for Rick at the end of the show. So hang around for that. Rick's a dancing. I'm Ryan Wilson. That's Rick Spielman. This is episode 184. Before we get going, Rick, how many days to the 2025 NFL draft?
Well, before I count, because there are 210 days, Ryan, and left until the 2025 NFL draft. And that's 210 days of you trying to sabotage me with secret names coming out as I am going through the Hurricane Helene down here right now, even though we're on the outer bands and hoping to have power. Then all of a sudden someone slipped a name late last night on me as I was preparing to put the furniture and outdoor furniture in and everything else. And I stayed up. I saw your email. I do read everything you and Debo decide to do on this show when you have your coup meetings without me.
Yeah.
And I was up late at night trying to watch this particular edge rusher. That was pretty impressive, I have to admit.
Yeah. Ohio State is the team he played most recently, and he's gotten some buzz, so I'll put him on the list. And Debo's producing again. You won't believe this, Debo, but I emailed Rick this name on Sunday. I went and double-checked, but he didn't see that part. But, hey, you did the homework. You're not making excuses. That's what we like around here, Rick.
No, I put the show above the safety of my family as I was batting down the hatches, and my wife's out there hauling furniture in. Hun, I have to do this at Russia or for the show tomorrow.
That's right. And I appreciate that. And at the end of the day, I'm sure your wife appreciates it too. There's no.
Oh, she does.
Yeah.
And that was well expressed to me last night.
I hope you didn't stop bringing in the furniture because a hurricane's coming to watch a player take some snaps.
This is my dedication.
Okay.
With the first pick, and to you and to Debo.
All right. Well,
if it gets blown away in the wind, those are the sacrifices.
That's how the draft gods wanted it.
Make, yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys are safe down on the west coast of Florida, and hopefully the storm passes you by, and hopefully it hits Prisco's car with him not in it and throws it in the ocean. How about that? Everybody wins. All right. Look, in the meantime, while we pray for Rick's safety and his wife's sanity, hit the like button here on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or both, if the feeling moves you. And if you do that, Rick, and add a name of an FBS or FCS draft eligible player, we'll talk about him. And we're going to do that today, by the way. Ariante Ursery, left tackle, Minnesota. Had fun watching him. That young man blocks out the sun, it turns out. He is enormous, and I'm anxious and interested to talk about him. We'll get that later in the show. But if you're interested in that sort of thing and you have a guy you want us to talk about, 5-star review us up and let us know. In the meantime, Rick, what do you got?
Nothing. No, I'm processing the 5-star thing again, but
oh my gosh,
we need to come up with something else.
I think that the something else is you put in earplugs for the 15 seconds I talk about 5-star, because if I had to guess whether a person knows about football or anything, if you explain what a 5-star review was one time, they would get it. The only person on planet Earth just so happens to be the co-host With the First Pick podcast. But that's okay. All right, let's do this.
Just so you know, it was a 3-star coming out. I looked it up.
First up. All right, we're going to do a little pop or drop for week 4 of the college football action, going back to last weekend and last Friday night, where the With the First Pick RV pulled up to the Syracuse game, and that was a lot of fun, Stanford-Syracuse. But first up, let's talk the most watched game on CBS this season and last season. Going to Ann Arbor. USC came to town to face Michigan. Going to start with Miller Moss, our guy. And he had not seen that sort of defense, I would imagine, in his football playing career, because they got after it because the Michigan offense wasn't doing a whole bunch. They brought in Orgy, the quarterback, who is not known for necessarily pushing the ball down the field. The offense sputtered, at least in the pass game. We'll talk about the run game shortly. But Miller Moss reconfirmed to me that he's smart, that he's tough, that he knows where to go with the football, that he is a strictly pocket passer. He's not going to win with his legs. And in today's NFL, and you try to figure out what quarterbacks look like, unfair or not, that's a strike against him. I think the lack of, he's not immobile, but the lack of athleticism compared to some of the other quarterbacks could be something that's a mark against him when you talk about ranking these guys when we get down to the actual draft day stuff. But that said, I thought he made some really good throws. The interception on the pick six, he just threw a half hitch late, and you can't make that throw. It sort of looked like the Will Levis throw we talked about Tuesday, just to the other side of the field. All in all, hostile environment. They had a chance to win that game. He doesn't play defense, so he didn't allow that last drive for Michigan. I came away feeling pretty good about it. 3 touchdowns and the pick six, of course. And I thought he availed himself nicely given the circumstances.
Yeah, this kid has a lot of poise and patience in the pocket. I agree with you. He's not a great athlete outside the pocket. He has more than enough arm talent. I saw a couple throws from the opposite hash, and as you know, college hashes are a lot wider than NFL hashes, and made a couple really nice throws opposite hash. So I don't have any issues with his arm strength. I think he has a very quick release. I think he reads and gets through his progressions. I think he's improving the more he's playing. I don't see him as a first-round talent yet, but I do know that he's catching a lot of people's attention out there, and especially going against better defenses than he probably has faced, when he was in the Pac-12, although he only played the one, I believe 1 or 2 games until this year. So I'm looking for this kid to continue to ascend as we go through this process. My biggest concern is I don't know how big he is.
Right.
And,
the size concerns. What about the lack of, or strictly pocket passer? Is that a concern or not?
I think you're labeling him wrong. I think he's not a run threat, but he's mobile. He's got enough mobility to get outside the pocket and to move around. But this kid's as tough as nails now. There are a couple times guys where he knew he was going to get hit in the pocket and stood in there, took the shot, but delivered the ball on time and with accuracy. So the pick six, he kind of got baited into that with Will Johnson, who's probably the number 1 corner coming off the board next year's draft. And but in a hostile environment, on the road, Big Ten critical matchup early in the season, he brought them back, took them down, and
nice touchdown in the corner of the end zone.
Yeah. So this kid didn't flinch.
No.
And that was the thing that was most impressive about me, was his composure and his savvy. No matter what happened out there, the pick six, or you're playing in the big house, or whatever is happening out there, he kept fighting right back and took him right back down the field. So I was really impressed a little bit with his moxie and his savvy on how he plays a position for a guy that hasn't had many starts.
Right. And you make a good point. He's not wearing cinder block shoes in the backfield and can't move. He just doesn't do it. He's not the athlete of Cam Ward, but he's also not Phillip Rivers back there either.
No. So you're mislabeling him.
Yeah, I don't want to mislabel him for sure. Also, the very first drop back of the game, they were inside their own 5-yard line. He wanted to throw the flat to his left, wasn't there, came back and threw an in route, hit the guy in the hands, and he dropped it. I mean, that's a big boy throw deep in your own end in a loud environment on the very first play, pass play of the game. So, right, there's a lot to like about Miller Moss. What if he is 5'11" and 3/4?
Not 2 quarters, 3 quarters.
However many quarters you want, but he's under 6 feet.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be concerned, with people, because of usually the smaller quarterbacks have something other unique to their game.
Yeah.
Like Cam Ward, his unique ability, and I think we're going to talk about him, to get outside the pocket and to create and to make plays with his legs. He's a smaller quarterback that doesn't have that skill set or that physical trait. So that will be some concern. It wasn't a big issue for Drew Brees when he came out. But I'm not saying this kid's Drew Brees either.
Yeah. Okay. And I don't know, maybe 6'2". I'm just putting it out there because the small quarterback conversation is going to be something we keep coming back to. All right. You want to hear my comp, or you want me to hold off on that? You're in a good mood. I don't want to ruin it.
No, I love your comps. It really helps me improve as an evaluator when you give me your comps, because I was like, oh, God, I am much better than that. It gives me a lot of self-confidence.
Right. I get it. All right, here we go. Slightly smaller version, because this guy isn't 6'8", but slightly smaller version of Andy Dalton.
Yeah. I'm not going there.
All right. Which way you want to go? Or you don't have any answers? You just want to make fun of the people?
No, I just like to make fun of you, not people, yourself, just personally.
Just me, just one person.
Just you, yeah. And Debo every now and then.
And Debo. Yeah, Debo had a face full of
Oh
FaceTime with Rick yesterday.
Yeah, I thought he was doing podcasts for outdoor shows now on CBS.
You got a Miller Moss comp, or you want to just?
I'm going to say a little bit right now. Case Keenum-ish.
Okay, who's better, Case Keenum or Andy Dalton?
Andy Dalton.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, I see the Case Keenum thing too. Fair enough. I'll give you a B- for that Case Keenum grade. Okay. All right, next up. All right, what do you think about this? This young man is a slightly bigger version of Miller Moss. Kyle McCord. You agree with that part at least?
I don't think he's as fluid moving as.
Oh, interesting. He ripped off a 19-yard run, jumped into the end zone. He said he'd been watching too much Josh Allen after the game. Yeah, and to your point, you know what's funny about that? The direction you're going. Marvin Harrison Jr. actually tweeted during the game, "I've never seen Kyle McCord move like that," and he was laughing. So that was a matter of
good run, great run. So
yeah, it really was. And here's what I love about Kyle McCord.
You actually took the old mobile home or what did we use? The RV,
the RV,
thick RV, and drove it up the street to the Syracuse game to watch a live game.
People were very excited, Syracuse fans, about Coach Fran Brown and what he's brought to the Dome. And they promptly lost to Stanford. Friday night Stanford, as the Cover 3 podcast guys will tell you, is something you don't want to face. And they actually played pretty well that game. We'll talk about the receiver in a second here. Syracuse had a chance to win that game late, and I questioned some of the play calling down the stretch, and Fran Brown addressed that a couple days ago. But in terms of Kyle McCord, he's a lot like Miller Moss. He plays with poise. He's unfazed. He threw a pick six in the middle of the field because the tight end, I believe, turned the wrong way. He didn't react. The tight end threw his hands up like, uh-oh, what did I do? As the guy was.
On that specific play, the ball was out, and the tight end just turned the opposite way.
Right.
But he throws with anticipation because he has to, because I don't think he has a cannon for an arm. He's got to get enough arm.
Right.
And you saw it live, so I'm asking you because you've seen it come off his hand. Does he have a strong arm or not?
No, it's a Mac Jones level arm, maybe a little better. But the point is that he does throw with anticipation, which is what you have to do. You can't just see it, throw it if you're not throwing Anthony Richardson lasers out there. So I thought he moved well in the pocket. That offensive line struggled. They did not play well for much of that game. He had a strip sack that wasn't his fault because he got blindsided. But again, I continue to be impressed with Kyle McCord, and I think fit matters. He's the big fish in a little pond now, and he's taken up that leadership role, which is nice because last year he felt like it wasn't clear he belonged there, and he entered the portal before they actually had the bowl game. I looked it up. I'd forgotten that, and I think he made the right decision.
Yeah, no, it's been a good move for him, and he's played better up there. But I think he's grown as a player because of all the experiences he had last year at Ohio State and playing in some of those big-time games. So not that Syracuse and Stanford isn't the Michigan, Ohio State, but when you're in that environment and you get an opportunity to play at Syracuse, and I think he's grown from everything that he learned at Ohio State.
What are you banging over there?
Well, I just grabbed my squeeze ball, so I stopped banging my coffee cup.
Oh, my God. Devo's about to rip his beard out. That's nothing people love more than commuting to work, listening to Rick bang us the coffee cup on the table. Thank you for grabbing the squeeze ball. Hey, what do you think of this? He's not a tier 1 quarterback in terms of the guys we're going to talk about when we unveil our big board, if you will. But I think he's the tier below it, and I think he's actually a little better than the Aiden O'Connell, Jake Haener, Clayton Tunes of the world.
I think he's Aiden O'Connell.
Okay, so I think he has a chance to be day 2. You think because Aiden went in the 4th?
I think it's borderline. See how he finishes out the season. Right now, I have him in the 4th.
Okay, all right. Miller Moss or Kyle McCord, if you have to take one guy first?
Kyle, right now.
Okay. He's a little bigger. He's listed at 6'2". We'll see how tall he is once we get to the measuring phase of things. All right, next up, I think this young man gets better each and every week. Cam Ward, quarterback, University of Miami. The big issue we talked about in week 1 is that off schedule, he is fantastic. He has a big arm. He can make all the throws. He had the interception thrown across his body against Florida. I didn't hate the idea. He just missed the target. But he doesn't seem fazed by literally anything. It's almost like he's playing at half speed and everyone else is playing fast forward speed. But it's not in a bad way. I think he did a better job this game against UCF of trying to play on time. It was close to the first half, and things opened up in the second half for Florida. For Miami. He finished 26 of 39, 434 passing yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception, ran for 42 more yards. Our buddy Eric Galka of the Shrine Bowl said this 3 weeks ago. You might as well put him in the first round because we're all going to get there eventually. Are you there yet, Rick?
I have him up there as one of my top 5s.
Okay.
Of the potential. But I still thought in the first half he missed some throws. Especially when he had to put some touch on the ball. He's almost nonchalant in the pocket where it just kind of hops around, and that drives me crazy because you're not going to be able to get away with that at the NFL like we're seeing the Caleb Williams, who thinks he can just scramble around. You can't scramble around like you did at college at the next level. So the one thing difference between Caleb and Jaden is Jaden goes forward. Caleb thinks he can retreat and go back, and that's not a good formula when you watch the two on how they move, because they both can move. One just goes backwards and it ends up in a sack or a disaster play, where at least Jaden Daniels knows how to step up and go forward or get around and not screw around trying to run around like Caleb did and has been doing. So he needs to learn how to do that a little better. Sometimes the deep balls are a little bit too much touch instead of just throwing it. If I'm picking holes in this kid, but I thought he played much better in the second half and looked better with his timing and rhythm. Threw the ball with better accuracy versus UCF. UCF is amazing. They gave Alabama everything they wanted. They gave Miami, at least in the first half, everything they wanted.
And I think Byron Brown, the quarterback, got hurt too.
Right.
So that changed the complexion of things.
But he was better. And if I can see what I saw in the second half and him to continue to go that direction, then I'm going to, he'll be a first-round quarterback.
Yeah. And your point's a good one. Caleb isn't a cautionary tale because Caleb still has a chance to be really good. But the running around stuff maybe that he had to do at USC because of the offensive line, you got to be able to coach that out of him. And it hasn't gone maybe as quickly as folks would have hoped. Of course, Bears fans are already angry at the decision to hire Shane Waldron, but that's another conversation because guys like Cliff Kingsbury, for example, have been a pretty good marriage with Jaden Daniels through 3 weeks. So, again, fit matters. We'll be saying that from now till Rick's hair falls out. All right.
You can say until the cows come home, too. That's a good saying as well.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that you turn bald one day. If it hasn't, there's still time.
No.
All right, next up. Shadur Sanders. Now, there's no team in college football that plays more exciting games week in and week out than Colorado. Man, I mean, the biggest story is probably that Travis Hunter had that tackle that won the game for him at the goal line. I mean, he forced the fumble, stuck his head in there. That's fun because, he's considered Deion Sanders when it comes to tackling because he's sleight of frame and athletic and all that. But that was a big play for him. But Shedeur on the other side was able to send it overtime. One of the worst defensive efforts you'll ever see from a prevent defense. They had 2 safeties standing basically in the in line like they were Dan Orlovsky. I was like, why are you standing so deep? And then the Colorado kid caught it at the front of the end zone and barely got touched because the corner guarding him fell down. That ain't Shedeur Sanders' fault. My first note, Shadur might be the toughest kid in college football. And he gets punched in the mouth time and time and time again. I would say 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10 times it's because he held the ball too long trying to do something or not getting out of bounds quickly enough and he gets shoved to the ground. He never complains. He doesn't point fingers at his offensive line. He's not throwing his hands up and down because he's angry about something. He just gets up and goes back to the huddle and then makes a play. I think he's the best deep ball thrower in this class as we sit here. But he has a big arm. I think he's a good athlete. People keep thinking, are you coming around him being a better athlete than maybe you thought?
No, I thought he was a good athlete.
Oh, because I said that he was
I
Will
told
Levis good.
my comp when everybody laughs at me is Donovan McNabb like.
Yeah, that's worse than Andy Dalton.
Okay.
Miller Moss.
And why? Explain to me why.
He's because Donovan McNabb, all he did was run. Not all he did, but he was incredibly athletic in the open field.
I was with Donovan. Maybe it was in the
you traded for washed up Donovan.
Here he comes. You got him mad, Rick.
Who invited him to talk on the show? I don't know why. It's just
Debo's an Eagles fan, and
God, he's very sensitive. He had his Eagles hat on yesterday.
He's trying to wish into existence. I mean, Debo, I don't know if you watch any Miller Moss, but who was closer, Miller Moss to Andy Dalton or Shedeur to Donovan?
I'm going to give you the nod on that one.
Put it up for a vote because that's Donovan has a strong arm. Donovan can throw the ball down the field. Donovan was a good athlete. He wasn't Lamar Jackson athlete. And Shedeur, you're underestimating his athletic skill set too.
Look, I'm getting gaslit. I've been saying he's a good athlete for a while. I think that Shedeur a better passer now than Donovan was coming out of Syracuse. I think he is.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is going to be interesting too when we unveil our big board through 4 weeks where we have these guys ranked. Is Shedeur a top 10 pick
today?
Yeah.
With the people that need quarterbacks? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. He's fun. You know,
Donovan ran for 59 yards when he was with the Vikings, and that's what Rick is basing his whole career on.
He couldn't wait to throw that one at you.
You know, when Harry produced, he never interrupted the show or corrected me in any way.
He's got to knock some common sense into you from time to time.
True that.
Oh, my God.
This is how your wife feels, because Debo spent a whole day with you yesterday. Now he's grumpy.
Yeah.
You know what's also amazing? I looked it up on PFF. He's only thrown 2 interceptions this year, Shedeur. He only has 1 turnover-worthy play. That throughout the course of 4 games, and he's throwing the ball 85 times a game, it feels like. Taking care of the ball is pretty important. We talk about that. Jaden Daniels doesn't have a turnover right now. Justin Fields doesn't have a turnover right now. So even if you're not playing top-level football, Jaden is. Justin's just sort of game managing. Not turning the ball over helps too.
It's a tremendous help, but he also has some pretty unique skill set players he's throwing to, because I think all those guys are legit NFL guys.
Oh, Colorado?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
They have some speed now at the receiver position.
And exacerbating.
Horn is not related to Joe Horn. That receiver, number 5, you know, the kid that transferred is a bigger body, not as fast as some of those guys. Number 14. Can't remember where he transferred from, but he makes some contested catches for him. And then, you know, Hunter is in a whole league by himself.
Yeah, I think Hunter's going to amount to something one day if he keeps at it.
Yeah, just stick with it, son. You found the calling.
That's right. And the running game is non-existent, so they're having to do that on just.
Oh, is there anyone more entertaining to watch in a game than Sanders? It's like you want to grab your popcorn and just watch what's going to happen, because something's going to happen. It's the Joe Webb theory. I don't know what, but something's going to happen. It's going
Usually
to be.
It's good too, man. That Hail Mary was bonkers. That was a.
Did he get sacked? If I read this right, 10 times in that game.
I'll double check, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I bet he got hit 50 times.
Back. He don't care. He keeps getting up and fighting back.
So when you're talking to this guy, whether it's the Senior Bowl, the Combine, or 30 visits, I know he gets knocked because he's a Colorado and his dad's Dion. I don't get a sense that he's unlike any other college kid. He's just playing football. He's not complaining. He's not showboating. Is there any other thing I'm missing?
No, but he does play with swag now.
That's right, but he's not a jerk is what I'm saying. And even though he's, you know, people get mad at Coach Prime for barring people from the press room and all other nonsense.
Right. No, you got to judge him for who he is.
So I'm trying to look this up here. How many times did he get sacked? He got sacked 10 times. So yes, you did not misread that. 10 times against Baylor.
And still came back fighting.
And you wouldn't know. I mean, he was fresh as a daisy by the end of that game. All right. Next up, final QB we'll talk about here. Someone left a 5-star review because we didn't talk about him before. So I said, let's talk about him. They put the whooping on NC State. Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik, Cade Klubnik, former 5-star. He had a tough go in that Georgia game. Looked a lot better in this game. Good athlete. He has a pretty big arm just from watching on television. I don't know what it looks like in person, but I was impressed with his ability to throw to the other side of the field. He's not nearly as polished as these other guys we've talked about. He's still sort of learning on the job. He'll make some mistakes and he'll get confused by what he sees. But I think the athleticism was there. The touchdown in the corner of the end zone there was wide ass open, but he saw it and he threw it and put him on him. So I think that's and he has an opportunity to return to school too. But I just put him on here because he played well and we heard a mention of him. He only played I think he came out pretty early in the third quarter because they were up 52-7 as I check my notes here.
5-7 at halftime.
Yeah. But look, you can only play the team that's out there in front of you, and I thought he did pretty well.
Yeah, no, from what, just TV scouting last year where it looked, I won't say painful, but it just looked out of sync. Labored. Yeah, it was hard to watch. And then all of a sudden, after that Georgia game, which was a little hard to watch in itself, the last 2 weeks he has played a lot better for whatever reason. I think he has more than enough arm talent. I think he can buy a second chance in the pocket. He's got a nice, smooth, over-the-top release. Now, he wasn't under duress at all this game. I didn't see any kind of pressure on him, so it was like throwing 7-on-7, in my opinion. But if he has pressure in his face, like you saw in Georgia and the games last year, it's like watching two different quarterbacks. So I like to see how he progresses, if he can build off these last 2 weeks. And when there is pressure in his face, does that affect him? Because when it's not, he made it look easy this game against North Carolina State. But if I were him, I would definitely stay in school. I would not come out.
I agree. This quarterback class keeps getting deeper each and every week, it feels like. And unless he's going to have some star-like rise over the next couple of weeks here, I think you're right about that. But I wanted to get him in here because he did have a good day. All right, let's quickly do our I'm going to rank. I'll give you my rankings. If you want to rank them, you can. Just for the week 4 guys we just talked about here, how I had them coming out of week 4 based on just week 4's action before we go to break. You want me to give you my list or you got your list?
I can go.
All right. Just week 4, not the overall big board.
Okay.
All right. What do you got?
My first one is Cam Ward.
Mine's Cam Ward. All right. What's number 2?
Sanders.
Mine's Shedeur. What's number 3?
Moss.
I had McCord.
4, McCord.
I gave Cade a nod because he looked good.
And 5, Cade.
All right. And then Miller. All right. So top 2 we agree on, and then things get crazy. But let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll look at our QB big board for the college football quarterbacks through the entire season. If the draft were tomorrow, who's Rick taking? Who am I taking? We'll talk about that right after this.
A Quiet Place Day 1 is now streaming on Paramount Plus. It's thrilling, terrifying. It will make your heart pound out of your chest. A Quiet Place Day 1, now streaming.
Man, that was creepy. Quiet Place Day 1.
Yeah.
If you're,
maybe Debo can be the quiet guy on the show.
I know you would like him to be Paramount Plus. If you're listening to us on the ear,
that's what everybody. That's what all the photographers said yesterday after Rick was done with his photos.
I took my coat off, threw it over my shoulder because I seen it on Project Runway.
Oh, look at that Project Runway.
I was in form yesterday.
I thought you meant like the if you told me you did like Sears modeling in the 80s, I would believe that too. Sears catalog modeling.
Yeah, they thought I was a handsome lad.
Handsome devil. All right, Debo. Rick has not seen our college quarterback big boards through 4 weeks. So Rick, here it is, unveiled for the first time. Pretty interesting. So we'll go through your list first, Rick. We'll just read them off. We don't have spend a lot of time on it, and then we'll get on to getting on here. But just so people who are listening know, first up for Rick, Carson Beck out of Georgia. If the draft for today, Rick, your Carson Beck is first off the board quarterback-wise, correct?
Correct.
And then Shadur is next.
Yep.
Quinn Ewers out of Texas. Interesting. He hasn't played in a couple weeks because of a abdominal strain, I think.
And if he continues to get hurt, I'm going to have major concerns and continue to drop him because there's a history there of durability. When's the last time he's played a full season? You're going to take a guy in the first round and he's not on the field because he's hurt all the time. That's a major concern.
I get, yeah. I mean, right. Can't make the club from the tub, I believe is the saying, Rick. Next up, Cam Ward. There he is. Rick prefaced it earlier. Snuck in there. Number 5, Mr. Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU. Jalen Milroe, number 6. That's interesting, out of Alabama.
He's rising.
He is. Well, we'll see. This Georgia game will go a long way, and because you have one of those games. You have your C.J. Stroud against Georgia game. People talk about it for the rest of your life. So that's where the conversation is going to begin next Saturday. And then Jackson Dart, who you were sort of lukewarm on when we talked about him last week, and you coming around?
I want to see him play somebody first.
Okay.
So right now it's been not as high level of competition as he's getting ready to face. So I'm anxious to see him when he gets into the SEC competition.
Oh, that's a coming. I had Shadur Sanders number 1 by a nose over Carson Beck. And then Cam Ward was 3 for me, followed by Quinn Ewers. And then Nussmeier's 5 also, just like Rick. Jackson Dart was 6 for me. Then I had to throw Debo some love, put Drew Aller there at 7.
Mr. Robotic.
Well, they play Illinois this weekend, so we'll see. Debo said the line is 2 touchdowns right now, I believe, so favoring Penn State against Illinois. So we'll see how that goes. But Debo, where are you on Drew Aller? You like him, right?
Yeah, I think he's going to get paid $400 million in about 5 years.
There you go.
I sent that tweet out last year, and I'm sticking by it.
Oh, my God.
I don't think he's played as robotic as you think he's played, Rick. But we'll find out.
Typical Penn State robotic quarterback.
Kerry Collins, I think, was my comp.
Todd Blackledge.
Oh, you're going old school.
Those were both first rounders.
Both excellent, at least Todd Blackledge, excellent announcers.
I don't know what Kerry's doing this day. He went to the Super Bowl, man.
That's good.
Lost to Ray Lewis, but I mean, that's no sin in that. That defense was pretty good. All right. So there we go. Week 4 QB rankings in the book. We'll see if those change this week. Jalen Milroe has a chance to move up. That's for sure. We'll see how he does. And maybe he'll crack my top 7 here, Rick, if Drew Aller plays too robotically against the Illini. All right, let's do some non-quarterback popper drops for week 4 around the college football landscape. And we're going to go back to old Syracuse, Rick. Friday night action. Alec Iomanner, number 13. Big, thick wide receiver, plays outside of us.
Is he thick in person?
Yeah. I actually brought my binoculars too, so I was checking out his Byron Murphy type calves.
He had some he's built like very
big
well.
Bubble. Big bubble, does that mean big butt? Is that what that means?
Big bubble.
So yeah, he's a thick young man. I do want to know. I watched him before I went earlier this season, and I watched the Colorado game last year because you were talking that up. I wonder how fast he is. Sometimes he separates, but I don't know how fast the cornerback is. And other times he struggled to separate. I want to see if he can get off the line of scrimmage consistently versus press. He didn't have any issue against Syracuse. He had a couple of contested catch drops, which I'd seen pop up before over the course of the season and last season. But he had that one-handed catch in the end zone. He had that 4th down conversion where they played man coverage against him on the last play to set up the game winning. I don't know why they're playing man because he's going to outmuscle you. And the cornerback did a fantastic job. Syracuse's Fran Brown, the coach, said afterwards they shouldn't have been in that defense. They put the cornerback out there, set him up to fail, and next thing you know, game-winning kick, Stanford wins on the road. Anyway, I like Iomanner a lot. I like the way he plays. I think he's versatile. He doesn't play a ton of slot, but I think he can play a lot more slot at the next level. I just want to see him see how fast he is when we're all said and done, and I want to see him be a little more consistent at the catch point. He's great, I get it, but there's some balls I'm sure he would have caught as well that found their way to the turf. What'd you think?
Yeah, strong physical receiver. I think he has adequate speed, not burner type speed, but he's going to have to rely on his route running ability and his physicalness and strength to be productive at the next level. But this kid really, like I said, last year when I watched him in that Colorado game, really popped out to me, and I thought he popped out to me this game. I think he's going to be a sneaky good Friday pick right now.
Yeah, right. and probably earlier rather than later Friday. You think?
It'll be depending on his speed.
Yeah, no, that's right. If he runs 4.8, we'll talk about it. But if he runs a 4.5, I think we're all good with that.
Yeah, and hopefully he shows up in some of these All-Star games too. I'd love to see him in person, and this would be a guy that would really benefit from the pre-draft process.
Like Mike Wilson and Isaiah Higgins, two of my favorite Stanford players that you don't like.
Well, Mike Wilson was hurt every other day.
Do you have a comp for Io Manor?
I went with?
Oh, I want to hear this because I struggled, so I didn't even come out with one. I don't want to hear you bellyache about it. Who do you got?
A little bit of Jonathan Mingo.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I may have thought about that, but the offense at Ole Miss is so weird. It's hard to put a finger on it.
Looking at a big size physical receiver. Now, Mingo hasn't really, he's still coming. He's playing better. But he reminded me with that body type and his movement skills, a little bit Jonathan Mingo-like.
All right. I don't hate it. In fact, I'm going to steal that one. Thank you. All right. Next up. So usually I send you the names Saturday night or Sunday morning after college football has concluded to see who we're going to talk about here. And I went and looked at like the leading receivers in college football to make sure I didn't miss anyone. And Ty Felton's name popped up and I saw the number. He has 616 receiving yards through 4 games. So I double checked to make sure that was right. This dude has gone off every single week. They played UConn, Michigan State, UVA, and then played Villanova last weekend. 43 receptions, 57 targets, 5 touchdowns. In terms of 15 or more yards on plays he's been involved in, 16 of those so far. So he's slightish of frame. He's not super skinny. He plays outside. They'll put him in the slot. In the Villanova game, which was last weekend, they primarily used him closer to the line of scrimmage, but I went back and watched some other games. He'll push it down the field, too. He has 0 drops this year. He can make contested catches. I worry about his frame in terms of does he need to add weight or not, but there's no denying this guy's been making plays every single time he's taken the field this year, and that certainly gets on your radar. He's a high-volume guy, but he makes catches. You throw the ball to him, he comes down with it.
Yeah, the biggest knock I have on him, I thought his size was good. I can't tell on the tape, but we'll see him hopefully.
I mean, thickness-wise, not height-wise. You think he's thick enough?
I think he's thick enough. At least he was on my tape. Maybe I had
the skinny tape.
Yeah, I had the thicker tape on these
All right,
guys.
go ahead.
But really like his hands. I don't think he's a great speed guy. He's going to have to rely on his route running ability and his hands because he's a natural hands catcher. Very productive college receiver. I just don't know how high his ceiling is. I think he could be a good pro just because I don't know what he's going to run. And I didn't think he was real dynamic after the catch as far as running with the ball in his hands after the catch. So I think he had 15 targets and 14 catches, but it was against, Villanova.
It counts.
So it counts. He's catching the ball.
Yeah.
But I like the way he uses his body.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to come up with a Rolodex.
I got one. Who do you got?
You go first.
Okay, I'll tell you who mine is. You're right. 15 targets. I went back and counted. 9 of those targets came in the first quarter. They just wore him out in the first quarter and let him take. All right, you mentioned body control. Similar frame, at least in my mind's eye. I didn't go and look up the measurables. Brendan Lloyd. Oh, what were you going to say? Who has body control?
I'll give you a hint. He was a receiver at Detroit. Came out of Cal, playing. Zay Jones.
He started at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
What's his name? I always forget his name. Jones. What?
Zay Jones.
No, not Zay. It's not Zay. We can't remember.
He was playing at Detroit, and now who signed?
I always forget his name. He's older. He's probably 33 or so now, right?
Yeah, but remember when he came out of Cal?
Yeah, he was great. I loved him. I used to hate the Steelers having to face him because he would tear him up.
Right. And then he played good in Detroit. He's just not a real fast guy, but he's smart, crafty.
Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones.
I always forget Marvin's name. Marvin Jones Jr. Yeah, he's a great player. All right, we'll see how thick Ty is because I feel like Marvin was a little heavier, but whatever. He's a great player. Don't hate the comp. Brandon Lloyd's an A+ comp, but you don't have to say it. That's fine. That's body control. All right, next up, one more offensive player, then we'll get to some of these edge rushers. This guy's a fun story. Kalel Mullings, the running back out of Michigan, and I'll just tell you what Fox Sports' Bruce Feldman tweeted out during the game. He's a converted linebacker, Mullins is. He only had 371 rushing yards as a high school senior. He now has 429 yards in the first 4 games of the season for Michigan, and he had 159 on 17 carries to beat USC. I didn't realize how big he was when I watched him. I didn't look it up till afterwards, taking the Rick Spielman advice. He doesn't play like he's 6'1", 235-ish. I thought he played smaller than that. He's not going to be dancing around in the backfield, and he's like I don't want to say boom or bust. If the hole isn't there, he's not going to make something out of nothing. But if the hole is there, good night, Irene. And we saw him run through arm tackles in that last drive to set up the game-winning touchdown, which he actually scored as well. He's fun, low mileage, a lot of things to be interested in if you're looking for a workhorse running back who can, there's no number one running backs for most of the NFL, but he's a guy that can be part of a committee and you feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, the 53-yard TD run down the middle, 65-yard run, but he got run down from behind in the open fild.
Could that be that he's tired, though, because it's fourth quarter, he's getting beaten up the whole game? Or because the first one you mentioned, no one caught him.
Yeah. What do you want me to do, make excuse for him?
Yes.
He got run down from behind. Okay. That's all I put in my notes, run down from behind.
All right. You didn't put it in pencil, I guess.
Yeah. They don't use him in a passing game. He got one boot pass in the flat. I didn't see any other passes in earlier games. For a big guy, he's just all over the pace and pass protection. So if you're going to get on the field as a runner in the running back in the NFL, you better have a unique skill set to be on and be able to pass pro. And that's where he struggles right now. Gave up a sack. But this guy is a big physical downhill one-cut runner that if he does get to the second level, he's going to plow through you. I don't think he's an elusive water bug type. He has really good contact balance. And always going forward. I said too, same workhorse type back, but a little bit of a one-trick pony for me.
Yeah, and he's new to the position, so you can get better as a pass protector. I don't know if you're going to get any more elusive as a runner, but it's a fun story. And again, second year in a row, Donovan Edwards taking a back seat to the other running back in the room. No disrespect to Donovan Edwards, but these guys that have stuck Blake Corum last year, of course, and then seeing Mullins this year is a fun story. All right, you want to keep going, Debo? You want to take a quick break before we get to defense?
Let's keep going.
All right, let's do the defense. Got 3 edge rushers, Rick. One was a surprise to you, but thank you for doing it as your lawn furniture floated down the river. First up, let's stay in Michigan. And this is a guy, again, when I check the stats, he keeps popping each and every week. Josiah Stewart, the edge rusher for Michigan. They play him out wide. They play him like on the sidelines, like he's playing the slot, and he just gets the angle. I said, even though, even lined up as a 9-tech way out there, he's twitchy. He has a little bend, and he has a rip to beat the left tackle. And he did it one time, even when Miller Moss took a 3-step drop, he still got home from that angle. He was there so quickly. High motor guy. 3 times in that game, he juked like he was going around the edge and came through the B gap and beat the offensive tackle. I think, we don't talk about this a lot with edge rushers, but I think he has pretty good contact balance because he plays with such a low center of gravity. It's hard to knock him off the rails where he's getting to. And he got the strip sack on the play that Kenneth Grant decided to be Khalil Mullings on and to fumble it right back to USC. But that wasn't Stewart's fault. So he was fun. It was first time watching him. I got a lot of enjoyment out of watching him against USC.
Yeah, I agree with everything. And I think they had some left tackles hurt. So they had a lot of, I think, 2 or 3 different left tackles.
Oh, okay.
And he was just picking, it was like, yeah, I'll take him. And then, he even showed the same juice coming off the right side. And because he's built with a lower center of gravity, I thought he played with good leverage at the point versus the run. This is another guy that plays with grit and energy and hair on fire and all that stuff. I thought he really, first time I watched him, and I thought he really popped off the tape this game. So I'm anxious to watch him going forward because I thought he was an impact player for Michigan on their defensive side. All
right, you want to comp it up, or you want me to go first?
Go first.
Josh Uche, former Michigan player.
Not bad.
All right, thank you. I think day 2 conversation for sure, right?
Yeah, I'm holding judgment.
Okay.
Yeah. But because I don't know how tall he is. He looks like if he's 6 foot, then that's going to be an issue. So I use my Rolodex.
What'd you come up with?
And who were some short edge rushers that came out last year?
Javon Solomon.
Huh?
Javon Solomon out of Troy. And he's actually popping a little bit.
Yep. I was between the Troy and Muhammad Kamara from Colorado State.
Oh, he went to Miami. I haven't checked up on him. I don't know how he's doing there, but
Yeah.
he's smaller and explosive. That's right. Or shorter,
Those
not smaller.
guys were Saturday picks. That's why I have them
Okay.
Saturday now. Does that make
All right.
sense?
Yeah.
If you look at the history and you go back and do your comps, if you kind of look where they get drafted, if they're 6-foot edge rushers, that'll kind of give you an indication of where they may end up going this year as well.
Interesting theory.
Yeah.
There's something into that.
Yeah,
right.
you have to look into that.
I'll look into that. It's like you've done this before. Let's head to Baton Rouge. You hate it when I say it that way. Another edge rusher. Another guy who, when I look at the stats each week, I keep seeing his name up there. So I said, we got to talk about him. Braden Swenson. They played UCLA. LSU did. Won that game. And I stole a Rickism here. I said he's a hair on fire bull rusher. That's how they play him outside a little bit too. 7 tech. He gets out there. 9 tech. They actually kicked him inside on 3rd downs. I thought he's pretty bendy, even though his pass rush moves consist of a bull rush and a speed rush. He tried a spin move late, didn't really hit home. But I like the anger and the speed at which he plays. And again, another fun player. He's a little bigger than Josiah Stewart. Eyeball test. I will see what he is when we get down to the nitty gritty. But this guy's a good young edge rusher as well.
Yeah, I think he has. They list him at 6'4" and 245, 250. So I know he is longer, and his limbs are longer than the kid from Michigan we just talked about. But I love the energy and effort he rushes the passer with. I agree with you on all that. I mean, even coming inside on some games, he's coming, like I said, with his ears pinned back and trying to get at the quarterback. I was very, very disappointed in his effort against the run, where it almost looks like he's not as violent against the run and defending the run as he is as a pass rusher. So if he can pick up the violent part of the run game and playing the run, I thought he just hung on blocks, not as violent with his hands as he is as a pass rusher. So he did close from the backside, made a nice tackle closing from the backside, but at the point he needs to play with more violence and more energy and effort like he does when you watch him rush the passer.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't see that in the run. It didn't blow me away, but I didn't have any red flags or pink flags, whatever flags we're talking about here. You're going to hate the comp. My comp is going to have to be only pass rush only, though, given what you've said here. You want to go first or want me to go?
Go ahead.
All right, just pass rush only, not run stuffer, because this kid was very good against the run too, I thought. Chris Braswell.
He's a lot longer than Chris Braswell.
Is he?
Yeah. How tall was Chris Braswell?
I'm guessing 6'3", but I don't know. I didn't know that this.
I thought he was longer than Braswell. That's a kid out of Penn State last year.
No, Christian Braswell at Alabama.
Oh. Yeah, that's horrible.
Well, okay, the Penn State kid then. Who was that?
Who was the kid opposite of whatchamacallit?
Of a chop? Yeah, his name is escaping me right now.
Yeah, but I had to go back and watch this kid against South Carolina.
Yeah.
And saw the same issues in the run.
Okay. I didn't watch the South Carolina game. Okay.
Because I wanted to make sure. But he had the same different energy when he was rushing a passer in South Carolina. So that's why I went back and watched the South Carolina game.
Have you ever talked to an edge rusher and they explained to you why they're taking it off on run plays?
No, I don't know why.
Okay. It's just a weird disconnect.
Yeah. But this kid, my comp, we drafted him in Minnesota.
If you say Daniil Hunter or DJ Wanham, I'm going to throw your computer out the window. Okay. Who is it?
Patrick Jones out of Pitt.
Okay. Thank you.
Good year this year.
Good. Finally, Patrick Jones gets a name check after Daniil and DJ were getting all the run from the Spielman comps. Okay, well, it sounds like you like Josiah Stewart's motor a little better than Braden Swenson, depending on in total.
Total.
Yeah.
But they both are pin your ears back and get after the quarterback as pass rushers. I would take the kid with the length if I not why he's not playing as violent against the run. And maybe they're having him just stand in there. I don't know if it's a schematic thing and hold the point, because you see on the backside he will chase, but at the point that would be one thing that I would ask. What were you asked to do in the run game?
Yeah, I have him graded pretty closely, but I had Swinson just a hair above Josiah Stewart. And we'll see where you have this young man. UVA transfer who now plays at Marshall. They played Ohio State last week, and they hung in there for a little bit. Mike Green, edge rusher. He only played 15 pass rush snaps against Ohio State. Had a sack, though. Thought he had some juice. Thought he played with low pad level, getting after the quarterback as a pass rusher. Thought he used his hands pretty well. They tried to block on the tight end a few times. I thought he said,
tight end, not a tackle, but a tight end.
But he said, look, that ain't going to work. So you got to get some big guys over there. Had a quick first step, and look, it's Marshall versus Ohio State, so it's going to be a mismatch. I thought he held his own, and I thought he flashed some good things. And maybe if he's playing at Michigan, it's a different situation. But he's the primary show in town at Marshall, so I don't know if they were targeting him or not as a game plan if you're Ohio State. But I liked what I saw.
So,
uh-oh.
Is that always bad when I say so?
We'll see.
That sack came at the end of the game, okay? But I did like the energy and effort he played with in Ohio State. So I went back and watched him against Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And he had 2 sacks. He had like 4 or 5 quarterback hurries. He was all over the field against Virginia Tech. Now, I don't think they have the same talent up front as Ohio State does, but I wanted to go back and see in back-to-back weeks how he has done. And he really jumped out to me more in the Virginia Tech game than he did in the Ohio State game. So
okay, good.
I really like this kid, and I think he's got an arrow going up. Again, he needs to get stronger over bigger bodies in the run game, but at least he's more violent with his hands. And Swinson from LSU that we talked about, he got off some of the tight ends just like you talked about. But this guy can really, for a long athlete, can bend and dip at the quarterback and gives great energy and effort, especially in his chase. So you ready for my comp on this one? You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Austin Booker.
Oh.
From Kansas last year.
Is he that long, do you think?
I think so. He
okay.
looked. So we'll see all the measurables, but rawness, but he reminded me of.
That's a high-end athlete then.
Yeah. A little raw, but the energy that Austin Booker played with last year, I thought that's who the first name that popped in my head after watching these 2 games on him.
My comp was, and I'm sure you'll love it, because he was much more raw coming out than he is now. Went to Charlotte. Alex Highsmith.
Oh, God. Why? Why do we do this? Why do you don't even give? I mean, Alex Highsmith is way thicker than this kid.
He has gotten thicker though, and I think he was a little less stout at the point.
How tall is Highsmith? This kid's 6'4" at least. At least he looks like it on tape, and a long linear build. Highsmith is explosive. He maybe to me is more closer to the
let's see
Joshua Stewart kid than from a build standpoint than he is, boy, God, you're frustrating sometimes.
At the combine, Alex Highsmith was 6'3", 248.
Okay, this kid's at least 6'4", 6'5", and a lot leaner.
You think he's leaner than 248, Mike Green?
I think because he's taller, he looks leaner on tape. I think they're 2 different body types.
I mean, I don't have the energy to even do a dollar bet because I think you're wrong.
You don't like my Austin Booker?
I do like the Austin Booker one. I think the lesson here is wait till you hear my Ariante Ursary comp.
Oh, God, I can't wait for that one.
So let's do the little 5-star review real quick, and then we'll take a break, and we'll get to the big surprise here at the end. Left tackle Ariante Ursary out of Minnesota. I think he's listed at 6'6", 330. He's a good athlete. Now, he ain't Amarius Mims athletic, but he's a good athlete for that size. He can get into space, which I love watching him do. Combo block, make it look easy, yada, yada, yada. I think you would agree with this. The run game is where he's at. The pass protection stuff, got some work. You agree with that?
No.
Interesting. I thought he struggled at times. Now, I mean, he's a good player. I think he's a top 32 guy or whatever. But I thought he struggled at times with speed rushers and guys with lower center of gravity, because he'd get out over his toes, play a little too high, and then he get pulled out of the way. I thought he was dominant at times as a run blocker, but you disagree. What do you got?
I think massive left tackle. I don't think he's a left tackle athlete, but I love when he's working combination blocks. That's when he's best because he can create movement, like you said, in the run game. I think he's athletic enough to play on his feet. I don't see him flopping around like a dead fish, all over the field. But I thought this guy was very patient in pass pro. You can't bull rush him. He'll sit and anchor on you. Great. The left tackle feet, as far as, the twitch part, I didn't see it, and I agree with you there. But I do think he does recover with his feet, and with his length and his mass, he can recover. I thought he was very good picking up games coming off the edge. Now, he hasn't faced a quick twitch athlete yet as a pass rusher. I don't know, because I didn't think the Iowa kid was a quick twitch pass rusher, but I don't think this kid given up a sack or maybe one sack and all the, because I went back and watched Nevada. I went back and watched Rhode Island since he was a 5-star, although a 3-star recruit coming out of high school.
Oh, that's what you meant when you said 3-star earlier. Okay, gotcha. Now I get it.
So I think the big test this week is going to be watching him against Josiah Stewart. Then maybe we can revisit on how we feel about him.
Absolutely.
But I have him right now in the second round.
Okay. Yeah, you had him going in our mock draft last week, I believe, week before that. You had him going, you sneaking into the bottom of the first round. There's a long way to go. One of my favorite blocks of the season, I don't think I've ever said that sentence out loud before, the Rhode Island game, he combo blocked to the second level, and after he destroyed the linebacker, he went and got the safety too. That's whatever the triple version of a combo block was. That was fun. All right, great. I like him. You like him. Thank you for the suggestion. Now, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll unveil the big mock draft surprise for Rick and what he has to do right after this.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
All right, Rick, before we get out of here, producer Noah asked me on Tuesday to whip up a mock draft for HQ, just the top 10 picks. So you're going to grade my picks. And this is based on the current draft order because all these good teams are 0-3 or 1-2 somehow. So you're going to grade the picks. Don't need a lot of long-winded answer. I don't need you to hurt my feelings. You just grade the picks, and you can give an alternative pick if you want, or we can flash up the next team and pick.
I think personally, I'm very sensitive to your feelings.
Yes, you and no one else. All right, Debo, do we have the big board ready? First up, Jacksonville Jaguars. I have the first overall pick right now, Rick. That'll be the third time in 5 or 6 years, whatever it is. They are taking Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle out of Texas. And I have some notes here just so to back up my argument before you start yelling and screaming. Cam Robinson, his deal's up after the season. Anton Harrison left with a knee injury last week, but he struggled a lot as a right tackle. He played left tackle at Oklahoma. You can't have enough offensive linemen here. You're not taking a quarterback because you just pay Trevor Lawrence. What do you think of this?
Can I comment?
Yeah, I said, what do you think of this ? So you comment now.
Yeah. He's not a first overall pick in the NFL draft. You have to take the best player.
Who's that?
Who that player is, I don't know yet.
Yeah, Travon Walker was the best player. How's that worked out?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would have taken Hayden Hutchinson.
All right, grade the pick.
C.
Jeez. Can you believe that, Debo? All right, next up, the Tennessee Titans, also 0-3. Who are we taking, Debo? Shadur Sanders. He's my QB1. What do you mean, no? Will Levis has you convinced that he can be the franchise quarterback?
I'm taking Beck because Beck.
Okay, that's fine. You're taking a quarterback, though.
I'm taking a quarterback, but I'm taking Beck because he's going to fit Callahan's scheme better, like Joe Burrow did, than Shadur Sanders.
I did think about that because all the
fit.
Well, yeah, right. All the hero ball that Will Levis plays is wearing thin already. I think Shadur Sanders, as I mentioned earlier, he throws the ball around the yard a lot, but he doesn't have a lot of turnover-worthy plays. But I understand what you're saying.
From hero ball guy to hero ball guy.
Nah. we didn't see this from Will Levis in college was the problem, though. And you can make up all the excuses you want as to why. Shedur's been a lot better in college.
Will Levis was mechanical like Aller is.
Yeah. What's the grade for the Shadur Sanders pick?
I'll give you a B just because you went quarterback, the wrong quarterback. But
All right. We agree on quarterback, though. All right, next up, the Cincinnati Bengals, also 0-3. Now, listen. Just listen. Don't get angry. Mason Graham makes sense, but Travis Hunter has played much better this year than Mason has, and obviously he offers the both sides of the ball stuff. And T. Higgins is gone. If you want to have some packages for Travis Hunter next year, and they have a couple of cornerbacks that are going to be gone. Mike Hilton's contract's up. He's a slot guy. Cam Taylor-Britt, his contract's up the next year. So if you want to get depth there, so on and so forth. So I went Travis Hunter to the Bengals, athlete.
Only reason I'm giving this an A,
yes,
is because if I were the Jags, I would have took Travis Hunter.
Oh, that would have been spicy. That's you know what? That's maybe one of the best things you've done on this podcast. That's a good call. Travis Hunter first overall. All right, next up, number 4. The Colts are 1-2. I didn't complicate it. Mason Graham.
A, no issue.
All right, next up, the Patriots at 5. Will Campbell, offensive tackle, LSU. That feels like a layup. You okay with that?
A, yep.
I haven't watched Will Campbell closely this year. I didn't love him as much as you and Mike Renner did over the summer, but you need offensive tackles, and we'll see how many end up going in the first round because it doesn't feel like last year's class. All right, number 6, the Cleveland Browns, 1-2. Took your guy Carson Beck.
Ooh, so Deshaun is toast in Cleveland?
I looked it up because I have to keep reminding myself that this is real life. The dead cap hit after a post June 1st release following next season. So Deshaun would have to be on the roster next season, and he could play, or Carson could play. It doesn't matter. The post June 1st cap hit for if you release him, $118 million in 2025, $53 million in 2026. And if you trade him, and no one's going to trade for that contract, it's $26 million and $53 million. So you're going to be parallel.
The dead cap hit that Denver got when they cut Russell Wilson.
What was bigger? I didn't hear you.
This is cutting or moving on from Deshaun Watson is historic.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. But here's the thing.
We thought it was historic when Denver decided to move on from Russell Wilson. But if you do that and all that dead money, then you're blowing up the Browns and starting over.
I understand that, and I don't say that lightly. But the issue is if you stick with Deshaun and you stink, you're just delaying it, right?
Yeah, you're just delaying it.
So if you love Carson Beck, and again, maybe you start Deshaun next season.
Pick. I like the pick because
Yeah.
I don't think Deshaun Watson is the answer right now.
Right.
And he sure hasn't been since he's been there.
I think best case scenario is you draft Carson, you start Deshaun in 2025, and you just pray to the football gods that he plays well, and you can trade him. You may have to split the contract or whatever, but just save something on what that dead cap hit looks like. But all right, great Carson Beck to the Browns.
A, because I like Beck because he's my number 1 quarterback.
All right, man.
He would win the Titans.
Getting a bunch of A's, Debo. Next up at number 7, the Carolina Panthers at 1-2. Now, Rick, you're going to love this. The Carolina Panthers originally had the 8th pick. I had them trading up the Panthers, Debo. I think I may have put it in there wrong. So do the Panthers. You can do 6 and 7. So add the Panthers and the Dolphins. So I had the Panthers trading up from 8 till 7. And they're going to take Cam Ward. And put 8 up there too, Debo, which is the Dolphins. The Dolphins trade down from 7 to 8. And the Dolphins is part of this trade that I told producer Noah about in HQ. The Dolphins get Bryce Young, a 4th-round pick, and they swap 1 spot. And now Tua's still there. Hopefully Tua stays healthy, but Bryce can sit on the bench and learn, beat an offense where maybe he has a chance to have success. And the Dolphins also take Will Johnson, the cornerback out of Michigan. So Panthers at 7, Cam Ward, quarterback. Dolphins at 8, Will Johnson, cornerback, plus Bryce Young.
The only reason it made sense to me is because you threw in Bryce Young to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
If they would have just did this trade, then I would have told you, you need to go talk to producer Noah, and all of a sudden you're a clickbait guy.
Yeah, no, I threw the trade in there.
Okay, trade makes better sense. So yeah, with this, I would give Panthers with Cam Ward in the top 10. B.
Okay, I'll take a B. And what about Will Johnson, cornerback to the Dolphins?
A.
Yeah, I mean, they just signed Jalen Ramsey. He's still struggling with injuries. They do have needs elsewhere. They have Kendall Fuller there.
It's an A because you're throwing in Bryce Young with it.
He's going to save the franchise. Next up at number 9, the Cowboys. I would have loved to have gotten Mason Graham here, but he is long gone. There's no other defensive tackle that I think necessarily is a first-round pick. I got CeeDee Lamb some help with Tedrow or McMillan.
I agree. I like this pick. They need more help.
Brandon Cooks' deal's up after the season. And then finally, at number 10, this was a tough one for me. Chicago Bears 1 and 2. They would love to get an offensive lineman. I'm not taking one here because the top 2 guys are who they are and they're long gone. So I went edge rusher. They got Darrell Taylor in the trade before the season. We know they have Montez Sweat. Nick Scorton, edge rusher, Texas A&M. Maybe a little early, we'll find out, but they're in a precarious spot. I don't know if I want to reach for an offensive lineman yet.
I agree with the edge rusher, and I know Pierce hasn't had the year yet.
And Pierce had the ACL too, by the way. We should note that.
Okay. So he just had it this weekend?
Yeah. He tore his ACL. The Siobhan Ravel, the cornerback out of ECU, has torn his ACL, so he's done as well.
Ugh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
So I want to give this an A because they need an edge rusher, and I liked Scorton.
All right. Look at, man, you must feel terrible about yourself having to give me so many good grades.
Except for the first overall pick.
Yeah, but if we I like the Travis Hunter thing. I'm going to steal that going forward. That's a good call.
Yeah, how can you not take Travis Hunter, what he's doing right now?
Have you seen that offensive line?
We have not seen an athlete like Travis Hunter. I have never seen an athlete that can do what he does on both sides of the ball in some years. So how can you not take that guy first overall? Unless he's, things don't check out as you go through the pre-draft process. But there's no one that I've ever seen to be able to do what he does. Not even Gordy Lockbaum.
Holy Cross his own, Gordy Lockbaum. That's a good pull, Rick. All right, that's it. That's a wrap.
And we made it without the power going off. And as the hurricane winds blow through the island here. Awesome.
Are the winds picking up?
Yeah, they're about gusting to 40, 45 miles an hour.
Oh, okay. You can't play pickleball in that sort of weather.
I think it'd be a challenge.
Yeah, it'd be a little tough. You and Debo didn't play pickleball yesterday?
No, I had to get back because, I'm not heartless. I didn't want my wife to move all the furniture by herself. But I became heartless when you sent me, the secret guy from Marshall, the secret edge rusher on Monday night right before the Tuesday show.
Please. All right. Whatever story that gets you out of trouble, you can use that, Rick. I give you permission. All right. That's a wrap on episode 184. As always, thanks to my guy, Rick. Stay safe, Rick. Thanks to Debo for producing, and thanks to all you guys who watch, listen, and comment. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday.